On January 7th of 2024, the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Los Angeles Chargers. A group of men who were rooting for the Chiefs watched the game in their friend's house and hung out afterwards. The homeowner eventually got tired and went to sleep on the couch while the others left his home. At some point, there was a repetitive pounding noise at the front door of the house, but the homeowner did not hear it. His neighbors reported this to the police later. Nothing more happened until Tuesday night, when the police knocked on the homeowner's door and informed him that there were 3 dead bodies on his property. Ricky Johnson, Clayton McGeeney, and David Harrington had all died on their friend's property without him realizing. According to his attorney, he works from home and had not left the house since the football game. Law enforcement confiscated the bodies and performed examinations, which revealed that each of the men had multiple substances in their systems. It's unclear exactly what they were, but a family member of one of the men said they believed it was cocaine and fentanyl. This revelation caused many people to question the circumstances surrounding their deaths. David Harrington's stepmother, Teresa, said that she believes there's more to the story. According to her, David was never a drug addict. Adriana Juarez, a woman who had a daughter with Ricky Johnson, said in reference to the homeowner, "I think it's all lies to cover his tracks. How do you not know there are 3 bodies and cars outside of your house? It makes no sense. Deep down, my gut is telling me something went down that night." She has also mentioned that Ricky's death has had a massive impact on their daughter, who sorely misses him. David's biological mother, Jennifer Marquez, stated, "They all deserve to have this fully checked out. Things are not adding up." She also said, "I don't believe anyone is innocent in this. My son was a grown man and I love him dearly. This is tearing me apart, but I have to fight for him now." The Kansas City police stated that the homeowner consented to a search of his property, which did not turn up any new information. They do not suspect foul play. The case remains open and the autopsy is still underway as of the time I'm writing this video. The Ayotzinapa Rural Teachers College in Guerrero, Mexico is an all-male school that is infamous for its history of radical activism. Students from this school have been known to hijack buses and delivery trucks for their protests, although the vehicles were almost always returned to their owners afterwards. Despite complaints from the owners of the vehicles, Mexican police have mostly tolerated this behavior. Local law enforcement tends to be wary about these students because they suspect they have ties to certain political groups. On September 26th of 2014, over 100 students from the school traveled to the city of Iguala in order to hijack buses for an upcoming protest. The students also wanted to disrupt a conference that was being held in honor of the wife of the mayor of Iguala. However, while on their way to the city, the students were forcibly stopped by the Iguala Municipal Police. The following events are unclear because different sources have given different accounts. According to the police, they chased the students because they had stolen 3 buses. Members of the student union stated that they had been hitchhiking at the time. As the buses sped off and the police followed, they opened fire on the students. 2 students were killed by the gunfire, while the rest fled into the surrounding area. Around 3 hours later, the students decided it was safe to return to the scene. Eyewitnesses saw the students being rounded up by the police and forced into their cruisers. They were driven to the police station in Iguala, then given to the police in Cocula. The Cocula deputy police chief told his men to drive the students to the rural community of Pueblo Viejo. After this, the police gave the students to members of an organized crime syndicate known as the Guerreros Unidos, or the United Warriors, which had formed after breaking away from a drug cartel. One of the gang's high-ranking members called the leader of the gang and told him that the students posed a threat to their organization. There has been some speculation that the gang believed the students were members of a rival gang. No matter the case, the gang leader authorized his subordinates to slaughter the students. They were taken to a dumpster on the outskirts of Cocula, by which time 15 students had already suffocated to death. 3 men, Patricio Reyes Landa, Jonathan Osorio Gomez, and Agustin Garcia Reyes, murdered the remaining students. They dumped the bodies in a pit and burned them with diesel, gasoline, tires, wood, and plastic. They destroyed the students' clothing in order to get rid of evidence, and the gang posted guards around the inferno to make sure it kept burning. After the fire finally died, they packaged the rest of the remains and dumped them in the San Juan River. A text message from one of the gang members to the leader read, "We turned them into dust and threw their remains in the water. They will never find them." In total, 43 students had been massacred by the Guerrero Unidos. The case sparked massive amounts of international outrage, and protests took place in Guerrero and Mexico City. In particular, this incident exposed how strong the links between law enforcement and organized crime truly are in Mexico. On September 28th of 2014, 22 police officers were arrested for their involvement in the shooting and disappearance. 280 officers were questioned, but most of them were released without being charged. The 22 who had been arrested were eventually convicted and incarcerated at a maximum security prison for aggravated murder. The mayor of Iguala claimed that he was not involved in the case and cited the conference he had been attending on the day in question. He stated that he had learned about the incident from his secretary and he had contacted the police, ordering them not to use excessive force or violence. The mayor's wife had been seen in a private meeting with State Governor Angel Rivero that day, and she had appeared worried and in a hurry. On September 30th, the mayor requested a 30-day leave of absence. During this time, he was being heavily pressured to resign in order to make the investigation easier. When federal agents arrived at his house, the mayor was nowhere to be found. The agents raided his home but could find no sign of the man or his family. Rumors began to spread that the mayor and his family were hiding out somewhere in Mexico. On October 18th, it was discovered that the leader of the Guerreros Unidos had been arrested by Mexican law enforcement. Members of the gang were suspects in the disappearance of the 43 students. The mayor of Iguala was strongly suspected to have been involved in the case, which makes even more sense when you learn that his wife was the sister of members of the Beltran Leyva drug cartel. On November 4th, a squadron of federal police located and arrested the mayor of Iguala and his wife in Mexico City. Neither of them resisted arrest. The mayor was incarcerated at a maximum security prison while his wife was sent to the Federal Social Readaptation Center in Nayarit. On June 24th of 2020, the gang leader's brother was also arrested. During 2020, arrest warrants were issued for numerous police officers. 8 more cartel members were also arrested. Finally, the Iguala police chief was arrested and convicted for his involvement in the kidnapping. Thomas Phillips is the father of 3 children, Jada, Maverick, and Ember, who lived in the Waikato region of New Zealand. Thomas had gotten divorced from his wife several years before this incident occurred, and he was homeschooling his children, which was how he had received his own education. He was also an avid outdoorsman with experience in hunting and camping. The Phillips family had been farming on a property in Maricopa for generations, and by all accounts, they were well respected. On September 11th of 2021, the Phillips family was seen on their farm. 2 days later, their car was discovered below the tide line at a nearby beach with the keys underneath the driver's side mat. The family themselves were nowhere to be seen. The police initially believed that Phillips must have been swept out to sea by the waves. They searched the surrounding land, but they also used planes, helicopters, jet skis, inflatable rescue boats, and drones to search the water. Somehow, despite their extensive efforts, no trace of the family was found. Search efforts were finally suspended on September 24th. After the failed search attempts, most people assumed they would never see the Phillips family again. However, on September 30th, the Phillips were seen riding a bike down a local road, and later that same day they were seen walking through their front door. Tom's sister stated that he, quote, wanted space to clear his head, end quote, and had decided to live in a tent 15 kilometers inland from the beach where his car had been found. The children were happy and healthy, and their grandmother described them as bouncy as ever. One of Tom's friends said that he had actually parked his car in a nearby car park, but the vehicle had been stolen and taken for a joyride. Tom was charged with wasting police resources due to the vast sums of money they had used during their search. His court date was pushed back to January 12th of 2022 because of COVID restrictions. On December 9th of 2021, the Phillips family was seen for the last time. Following their second disappearance, the police did not initiate a search effort because Tom had notified his family of where he was going. They determined that he was not in violation of court restrictions. However, when Tom failed to appear in court on January 12th, an arrest warrant was issued. When questioned, Tom's lawyer said that he had not heard from the family since the court date was first announced. Tom's car was found abandoned on the same road that he and his children had been seen biking on the first time around. On February 9th, Tom returned to his home for about an hour to retrieve supplies. He told his family that the children were safe and healthy, but he refused to disclose their location. Family members eventually launched a petition to make the police do more to find the family. Law enforcement made a public appeal for information and they received 2 tips, but both were dismissed. By August, the police believed that Tom and his children must have adopted new identities and started a new life for themselves elsewhere. In September, the police refused to offer a cash reward for the children's return, so family members began raising funds in order to offer a reward themselves. On August 2nd of 2023, Tom stole a Toyota Hilux and he was seen driving the vehicle in the same general region where he had lived. He was also spotted shopping at 2 different Bunnings Warehouse stores in Hamilton. He wore a surgical mask in order to disguise himself. The stolen car was recovered 2 days later. In September of 2023, the police also charged Tom for an armed bank robbery in the King Country region. He performed this robbery with an unidentified accomplice whom police believe was one of his children. To this day, the Phillips family has never been located. They have numerous charges against them, but nobody knows where they are or what they're doing. Hopefully these questions can be answered before long.